So this is M38, biomass in water. So if we look up here at this figure, we can see that there are all of our resources, so renewable and non-renewable resources. And basically, in this first sticky note, what sources in that picture come from the sun? So if we look back at the picture, the sources that come from the sun would be everything except for over here in other. So this is tidal energy, which is coming from the moon. We've got nuclear reactors, which is uranium coming from the earth, and then geothermal, which is the heat in the earth. The rest of it, in a roundabout way, comes from the sun. So we've got wind energy, that is unequal heating of the Earth's surface due to the sun, which causes the wind, and so therefore that's how we move the turbines in the wind. And then we look at solar, of course, that's pretty obvious how that comes from the sun. Hydroelectric, that is based on water, and the water cycle doesn't run without the sun. And then the other thing, fossil fuels are non-renewable resources. Fossil fuels are formed from decayed plant animal material, and plants and animals can't survive without the sun. So in a roundabout way, those are also from the sun. So the only thing that doesn't come from the sun would be our tidal, nuclear, and geothermal. And then the last thing on that bullet, on that sticky note, was why is biomass more abundantly used in developing countries? So think about why, why do they use that versus other things? So why biomass? And biomass could be a variety of things. It could be charcoal, it could be wood, it could be wood chips, it could be burning manure. So all of those things are classified as biomass. All right, and then moving on to page 462. Up at the top, how is burning modern carbon different from burning fossil carbon? So there is a difference. Modern carbon is, maybe within the last century versus fossil fuels. So there's a big difference in the amount of carbon that's stored and how long it's been stored. And then benefits and drawbacks of tree removal. So when we remove trees for biomass, what are some drawbacks? There are some benefits too. But what is going on there? So we're removing either big trees or little trees. Does that make a difference? And then some benefits and drawbacks of those three types of biomass. So we've got wood, charcoal, and manure. So what is good about those things? What is bad? And then moving to 463, you can kind of see in these pictures, there is some pretty bad smog. And that's mostly from particulates from wood-burning stoves. So here in Reading, we've actually banned the use of new wood-burning stoves. So some people still have them. And where, after the car fire, a lot of people that are rebuilding their homes are finding out that you can't put wood-burning stoves in. And they had wood-burning stoves before. So that does tremendously impact the atmosphere when you burn wood versus other energy sources. So down here it says, why don't developing countries use more biofuels? So why wouldn't they use biofuels? Think about, what is a developing country? And could they use that? Do they have that technology? Do they have that income? Probably not. Then moving over, it says, who are the top two producers of ethanol? So which two countries produce the most ethanol? And then we're moving to page 464. Up at the top, describe the difference between gasohol, E85, and B20. So gasohol and E85, those are both types of ethanol. They just have to do with the amount of ethanol. And then B20 is a biodiesel. So that number also refers to the amount of ethanol that is added to the diesel. So just be able to distinguish what the percentages are and what exactly those things are. And then what is the benefit of a flex fuel vehicle? So a flex fuel vehicle could use a variety of different types of fuel sources. So there's more to it than that. But think about some other benefits that might be. And then moving down, what are some alternatives to corn for fuel? So we don't always have to use corn. That's kind of the go-to right now, but we don't always have to use that. So what are some alternatives and why aren't we using them now? So, in place of corn, we could use things that humans don't eat. Well, why don't we do that? And then up here, what source of biodiesel uses the least amount of energy to produce the greatest yield of fuel per hectare? So what do we use to make biodiesel that would be the greatest benefit? And then moving to 465, which country is the leader of hydroelectricity? So hydroelectricity would be our dams, our traditional dams with a reservoir behind them, or they could be river-run systems. But which country uses the most hydroelectricity or has the most? It has to do with the country that has the biggest dam, and you also need to know that. So benefits and drawbacks of the run-of-the-river hydroelectric generation. So this would be the kind of dam that is similar to the diversion dam, maybe by Caldwell Park, on a bigger scale. And so it's not blocking water behind it. The water is simply just running through it. Kind of similar on a smaller scale than Keswick. So that would be kind of the run-of-the-river hydroelectric. So some benefits and drawbacks of that. And then what is the largest dam in the world? So that would also be the leader of hydroelectricity. And then moving to 466, here's a picture of a dam. So this is similar to Shasta Dam. So how do hydroelectric dams produce electricity? So how does that work? So basically using the kinetic energy coming from the water, and that's moving down into the lower part of the dam by gravity. And then just like all energy sources except for solar, well, some types of solar, we are turning a turbine that in turn turns the generator that generates the electricity. So that is very common in all of our electrical sources. So just kind of understand the mechanics of that. And then where can we use tidal energy? So tidal energy is another type of energy that we could use, and we do a little bit, but why don't we use it all over the place? So why don't we use it all over on all of the coastlines? Why doesn't it work like that? And what kind of energy is used? Well, it's moving energy, so that would be kinetic. And then up here, benefits and drawbacks of hydroelectricity. So what are some benefits of building a dam like this one, for example, the Lake Powell Dam, Glen Canyon Dam? Why would this be beneficial? Or Shasta Lake, you can think of the Shasta Dam. And then what are some major drawbacks? And we've kind of touched a little bit on that with the salamanders. That's just a small portion of some drawbacks. But here at Shasta Lake, that would be some drawbacks of making the dam higher. And then moving on to the last part, what kind of environmental impact does dam removal have? So we can remove dams, as you can see in this picture. We can take out a river-run dam, which is the picture on the left, and restore it back to its natural state. What does that do to the environment? So there's some pretty significant things that happen when you remove dams. And that concludes M38.